Okay, our application has finally installed on the emulator. You can see the UI, it's same as Nexus 4 phone if you can compare it, and has the same UI, the same unlocking feature. Just unlock the phone. Yeah, it's a bit slow. And for checking apps, click here. It's loading up. And here you can see we created our project name as Hello World and our icon is there. By default it will take this Android icon for our Android application. I'll tell you in subsequent tutorials how to change the image of your app icon. Our app has mounted onto this emulator. Just click on it and your app will get opened. Hello World. We wrote Hello World in our activity underscore main.xml. Now I'll explain you how this worked. Now let's understand the whole functionality. Now first of all we'll see Android manifest XML. Android has a file which is called as Android manifest.xml and it is created by Android automatically at first instance. It is basically a resource file which contains all details needed by the Android system about the application. It has the information about your application packages, including components of the application such as activities, services, broadcast receivers, content providers, etc. I'll teach you what these all are: activities, services, broadcast receivers, content providers, etc. in subsequent tutorials. Now, it also protects the application to access any protected parts provided by the permission. Suppose your application has something which requires internet. So we need to provide permission to that, and we'll provide that permission in Android manifest.xml. Now, it also declares the Android API that the application is going to use. Now, we used Android KitKat, and every Android version has a particular API corresponding to the name. I'll show you what this API is, and it is located inside the root directory of the project. So as it says, inside root directory, here we have Android manifest.xml. Let's open it. You'll be seeing something like this. Just click here, Android manifest.xml, to see the code. There you can see the code. Firstly, we said it has information about our packages. Our package was Android. Inside this com.example.helloworld. If our application's name is Hello World, it will automatically create package with convention like this: com.example, then after that name of our application. So it has stored the name of our application, the complete package com.example.helloworld. You can give any package name, and then after that you can see Android target version and min SDK version. So what are these Android min SDK versions and Android target version? Android min SDK version is basically, it has an integer value which defines the minimum API level required for the application to run. Minimum API level, we have defined the minimum API which is required for this application to run, and for Android 8 you can see 2.2.x. So if any phone which has Android below than 2.2.x, it won't be able to install on that phone. If somebody has an Android which is less than version 2.2.x, Google will not allow it to install because our minimum API level is 8. And then comes target SDK version, which is 19. 19 is for KitKat. You must remember that when we installed target SDK version, or when we installed SDK KitKat, its API was 19. So we are testing on 19. So what this target SDK version means? This is basically an attribute which notifies the system that you have tested against the target SDK version. So when we created our AVD and when we installed SDK, it was API level 19, which is KitKat, and we are running our application on that. So our target SDK version is 19. Why we specify this? Because earlier I told you every new Android version has certain enhanced functionality over the previous version. So but our minimum API level is 8, but we don't want it to enable any compatibility behaviors. Suppose our application has some feature which will run on 8 also, but it runs like in different manner when we use API level 19, but we don't want it to do that, but we just specifying here because we are testing it with API level 19 so that it should not bring in any forward compatibility with the target version. So this is why target SDK version and min SDK version is defined. Min SDK version is the minimum API or minimum Android version on which you want that app to get installed. We do this for backward compatibility. Backward compatibility means if something is running on Android 4.4 and it should also run on the lower versions. So that is backward compatibility. And target SDK version is the version of or the API level on which you are testing. So we are testing on the latest target SDK version and the latest API level 19. So that's why we are specifying target SDK version is 19. And if you do not specify this attribute target SDK version, then by default target SDK version will be same as that of min SDK version. Now next comes our application tags. First of all, come here, Android version code and Android version name. By default they will have the value 1 and 1.0. Suppose now your app has certain functionalities and now you are adding some functionalities to your apps. When you will be uploading the app next time, or when you are changing any contents of your apps, you will have to update these version codes and version names, and they should be always higher than the previous version. Version code is not shown to the user. I'll tell you how to upload your apps on Google Play Store. This version code is just used for by the internal Android, but for user this version name is shown. Whenever you make any change and upload your app to Google Play Store again, you just need to change this. You can change it to any like 1.1 or 2.0, but the newer version should always be higher than the older version, and this version will be shown to the user. And then next comes our application. Inside application you will define all the activities. What each activity means, each screen. Now first of all, some attributes are icon. By default it will take this icon. All the icons or all the images will be stored in drawable folder. Add drawable. These are all the drawable folders. You can see IC_launcher. How to give this? First you will give @ then drawable for images and for styles. For some styles you will give whatever will be present in this drawable folder. To access that item you will be using @ then drawable, then / followed by the name. Name of our image is IC_launcher, so you will be using IC_launcher. And then Android label. What will be the label of your app? So by default it's taking hello world. Whatever name you want to give, whatever names you will define in strings.xml file. So how to find strings.xml file? Press Ctrl+Shift+R, type strings.xml. Your project name is hello world, just double click it. Again just click on strings.xml to see the code. How to find this? It's located under your hello world and inside res. Res is resources, and inside resources in values folder you can find strings.xml. So how to use strings.xml? You can see app_name is hello world, and here our app name is hello world. So it is picking hello world name using this key. In string.xml we define key value pairs. Key, what is the key for this value? You can see activity hello world manifest file. We are using @string because name of the file is string, and inside res folder whenever you want to access values you can use @string notation, then / and then key. Key for app name was hello world was app_name, so we used @string / then app_name. This eventually means go to the strings.xml file. @string essentially means strings.xml file. Then in string.xml files go to the key app_name, and whatever the value of app_name is, just use that value as label for our Android application. And here this denotes the key and this denotes the value. Keys should be unique for all the values, and values can be same or may not be same. So the value was hello world. We will be changing this welcome. Let's change this to welcome, and now our title should change to welcome. Now again, for running this code, just run here. Now we'll wait some time to show the output. Emulator takes some time. It's loading the app again. There you go. Now it has changed it to welcome, the title of our app. It has been changed to welcome. Earlier it was hello world. Just click here. You can see the title. Earlier it was hello world. Now again this is also welcome. So this is how you use strings.xml. Now when we'll start developing apps, I'll tell you completely how to use this file completely. Again come to manifest file. Now theme. Theme essentially means what theme you want to apply. By default this is app_theme. And in a styles tutorial I'll tell you how to apply themes. After that comes our activity. Each activity represents a screen. First of all, let's visit layout folder. Click on activity_main.xml. Suppose your application has 10 UI and 10 screens, so you will develop 10 XML files for it. Now our app was showing this. The same we wrote here hello world, this screen was coming here. Why activity XML? So how to show this activity_XML? Now for that, for each activity we'll have a class and we'll extend action bar activity or activity class. We'll be using activity class throughout our tutorial. And this activity class, earlier I told you in inheritance, if superclass has some methods, we can utilize it in subclass. So first with superclass, this superclass is provided by Android and we'll use onCreate method of this superclass. So what does onCreate methods do? Whenever you have an application, whenever you will click on app for the first time, whenever the app will get initialized, whenever you will click this icon to start the app, onCreate method will get called. And by default super.onCreate means it will call the method of the superclass. Main things come up here. Whenever this icon get clicked, what should be shown? And for that we use setContentView method. setContentView method, when we use this method, we decide what screen should pop up. And that screen is activity_main. And in activity_main, we've created one text view. You can see this text view. Text view is basically used to represent the text. If we want to show some text on the screen, then we use text view. And in that text view, we've written hello_world. So this screen is essentially had the UI, which in turn had the text hello_world. Now what is this R? Now Android has auto-generated files which are called as R files. They are stored in gen folder or generated folder, and inside this gen folder you can see our package name com.example.helloworld. Whatever resources which we'll be having, Android will generate unique IDs for those. Suppose if we were having activity_main, now it will have generated ID for this. How to see this? Just click on r.java, type main. You can see activity_main. It has generated a unique ID for this. We should not modify this R file. This R file is automatically generated by Android system to uniquely identify all the resources in our Android application. And how to access this activity_main file? It will use these ID to identify which resource is it. And in our main file, we can first use R to access R file, then dot name of the folder, and name of the folder is layout. I told you all the screens will be created in main folder, and all the screens use XML file to represent the UI. So when we'll say R dot, then layout, name of the folder, then if we'll do dot, then type A, it will show all the XML files which were present in layout folder. So we just need to represent this. So whenever application will start first, main activity will get called. Like whenever we used to call a Java program, or whenever we used to run a Java program, first ever main method used to get called, and whenever Android application will run, main activity will run first. And when it will come inside this main activity class, it will see what method is given inside, and we have given this method, or we have overridden this method. Whenever our application icon gets clicked, this method should get called, and inside this method we can set which screen should pop up. And to pop up a screen, we need a method set content view, and inside set content view method we give name of the XML file or name of the GUI file which we want to come at output, and in this case we have given activity underscore main as the GUI file. So whenever we clicked our welcome icon, it came inside this activity underscore main or main activity, and as we know, when we click that icon, on create gets called, and inside on create we have given set content view or set this UI, and UI we have given activity underscore main dot XML. So hence we saw this output. So this is how the output was shown. You will get more clear view of Android manifest.xml when we'll be dealing with more UIs and when we'll be creating more classes and XML files.